Welcome to another heart-centered production by Headwater Sage for the Blake Matthew Mindful Memorial Foundation. So, Deb Burkhalter,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm excited.
So, you're here because we made it a meeting to just meet up and talk about me coming on your podcast, and then I surprised you with,
Yeah.
hey, while you're here, why don't you just jump on our podcast? And
we'll do this.
yeah, we're going to have the same conversation we normally would. It's just going to be out here for the world to hear.
There you go. That's awesome.
It's fun. So thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And so you asked me before, the question that I did not answer is, what is the goal?
Right.
What are we trying to do here? Right?
At the foundation.
So I think the best way to explain that is to back up to the beginning and just tell you how everything started.
Perfect.
So where should I start? I could go back really far. But I'll start with Christmas in 2020.
Okay.
After that crazy year that we all went through, we had Blake, my son Blake, and his fiance Shaylin came over about 5 or 6 days before Christmas, and we had our Christmas and we exchanged gifts, and it was an amazing Christmas. It was like I was just getting to the point in my adult life where Blake and I were like really good buddies, and our relationship had never been better. And it was different with Blake growing up because he was never like, he was more like my little brother.
Okay.
And my dad was more like just the father figure to both of us, because I was 17 when he was born. So I was learning how to be a dad through my dad.
Right.
And so Blake was living down here. He was engaged. He was the happiest, most energetic, helpful, loving, caring human you'd care to meet. And nobody could say anything negative about Blake. And he was always smiling, and he was always moving. He was just, his energy was, he couldn't sit still for very long. And looking back, I could see like maybe the anxiety in his head is what kept him from sitting so still, but he never showed to anyone that he was depressed in any way or terrified or terribly anxious of worry and whatever it was. Nobody knew. And he would tell me a lot how his girlfriend suffered from severe anxiety and depression. And so he was telling me, but he was tweaking the story just a little bit. And so we wrapped up our Christmas. He gave us the last hugs that he ever gave us. And then I got a phone call the day after Christmas from my dad in the middle of the night. It was around midnight. And I answered the phone, and the first thing my dad said was, "The Blake is dead." And so it was just, how do you, like, no, you didn't just say that. I just wanted to hang up the phone. Like, don't say that. Why the fuck did you just say that?
Right.
And so obviously that was a long night and week and month, and we went through all that and just complete shock. My first thought was, who murdered him?
Right,
This didn't happen.
Wow.
And I guess fast forward, and about a year later, his estate was finally settled. He owned some Tesla stock, and we inherited $6,000 from him. And we inherited the stock and then sold the stock, and then we're like, we have the $6,000. What should we do with it? And my wife and I wanted to obviously do something good with it. We just didn't want to go buy a fishing boat or something.
Right.
Even though we could have named it Blake's boat or
There
something.
you,
but
there you go.
that would have been another good idea. But we were like, let's do a scholarship to a student in Reedsburg who is pursuing a career in a mental health field. Like, that just made sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we put out the scholarship notification, and the seniors in Reedsburg who were considering that field applied. And $6,000 scholarship is a pretty good sized scholarship.
It's a nice scholarship.
And so we asked them to write cover letters and letters of recommendation, and we got really good applicants. It was really hard to narrow down the last 2 or 3, and either one of them would have been a wonderful choice. So that I removed myself from the duty of choosing the people from the who apply for the scholarship. That committee has a tough decision to make,
Right.
especially if
right.
there's a lot of applications. But anyway, we issued it to Grace Benish, who was he still is just an amazing young woman who's pursuing a career in. I think she wanted to approach mental health from a neuroscience point of view, and just super smart girl. So we're like, let's give it to her. And so we issued the scholarship at the ceremony for the scholarships in Reedsburg. And that night, while laying in bed, we were like, boy, it would be really cool if we could keep this scholarship going. $6,000 a year. Like, all we need to do is come up with a fundraiser to raise $6,000 a year. And that was our goal.
And that was in 21?
21, yep.
Okay.
And so we're like, and we had this idea almost at the same time, because the property where we live used to be owned. We purchased the property from the Johansson family.
Okay.
And the Johansson family, back in the late 80s and early 90s, had a just for fun mini triathlon event that they hosted at their property. That we're like, let's bring that back. Let's come up with a route and we'll have a party, and the funds, we'll do a silent auction, and we didn't even know how we were going to raise the money, but if you have a big party, you can figure it out.
Absolutely.
And so we organized the first one, and we designed a route that was like a 6-mile bike ride, and then a 1-mile canoe paddle or kayak paddle, and then a 2-mile run. And it all started, the start and the finish was right at the main grounds, the main event grounds. And then we went, and after the race, we would pick up everyone's bike and bring it back to the main grounds, and then we go get everyone's kayak and bring it back to the main grounds. So, like, there's a crew doing that.
That's
so
awesome.
So it was just easier logistics. You just show up and compete.
You don't have to bring. Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's awesome. Wow. So how many people did you have the first year?
50 people signed up for the race, and
Okay.
a couple hundred people came to the party. We had a couple food trucks, and then inside the garage on all these tables that were set up, we had silent auction items and Chinese bucket raffle
Okay.
items. And then we did a 50-50 raffle and a bags tournament. And we raised $20,000 the first year.
Wow.
And we're like, wow, we can do 2 scholarships this year.
Right.
But then we thought, well, maybe, what if there's an off year, we can't have the event? Let's keep some in reserves. So we did 2 scholarships that next year. But then in the meantime, we had a lot of just single one-time cash donations from people in the community. We had a huge donation from Fun Company in New Lisbon
Okay.
after our second year event, where we raised another $20,000.
Wow.
And then our third year, we raised $60,000 at the same event, and it seemed like this similar turnout. Like, the items were higher value, but it was really hard to put your finger on why we went from 20 to 60. It was just really encouraging. And then we look at our books and see we have $210,000.
Wow.
But I just couldn't help but think, like, okay, on one hand, we could play it safe. We could put all this in a mutual fund, and the interest every year would pay for a $6,000 scholarship in Reedsburg forever.
Wow.
And well, that was a good idea, but I was like, that sounds way too safe. I want to do something different. I want to do something. We want to still do the scholarships, but we wanted to do something that would help somebody today. And so
There's more.
yeah, there's more we can do.
There's more.
A student might change their major, and even if they don't, it'll be 4 or 5 years before they get out into the world where they're helping
Right.
people with mental health issues. So, like, what can we do today? And so we're like, let's keep the scholarship going in Reedsburg. We'll also do an online application where any random person, like a high school graduate from another school or a grad student or someone who just wants to go back to school, can apply. So we'll do 2 scholarships. But then we're going to we budgeted like $40,000 for 1 year. And we said, let's take this $40,000 and start a new grant program where people who are struggling with mental health issues can apply. And then we will issue them some sort of grant or voucher or agreement to pay for services that they receive based on a list that they choose from. And then we thought, well, we should have, so it just can't be anybody and everybody. We should maintain a pool of wellness partners that
Right.
are attached to us so that we can vet them, make sure that they're qualified and legitimate and respected and good references and everything. And then we'll, when people apply, we'll match them up with one of our partners.
Okay.
And then and so that started all last September. And that was,
24.
yeah,
Okay.
right after the last event.
Okay.
Because that's when we were like, let's start this. Let's do something. I didn't want to wait. And it was never going to be perfect. And we just kind of shot from the hip. And it was a little messy. We issued 30 grants. 15 people came in to actually claim them. So half of the people didn't even follow up with the grant that they were awarded.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, well, let's think about this. What happened? What was good about it? What was not so good about it? How can we refine this process and make it more effective? And so we decided to reinvent the whole thing, like just keep asking questions, what we can do better, what we can do differently. And so I got to the end of December, and my brother-in-law, who you met, Jeremy,
Oh, okay.
he's been working here with me as an appraiser for 7 or 8 years. I've been an appraiser for 23 years,
Okay.
and could do it in my sleep. And I guess just some of the passion of the appraisal business fizzled within me, and the fire that I found inside was really all about this foundation. And so I'm like, Jeremy, what do you say you just take over the appraisal business to let me do this? And so he gave me that gift.
Wow.
And so starting January 1st, I became full-time director of the foundation to just put my nose to this grindstone and see what we can do. And part of that is raising more money, having more events and fundraising campaigns. But aside from that, even before that, my first goal, I said I'm going to take January, February, March, and just focus on the applicants who have already received a grant, refine the process for how applications are managed and how grants are awarded and how that whole process works. And so I won't get into all the details on how we've made it better, but we keep streamlining. My goal is to make it so efficient that I could maybe manage a grant program for the whole state of Wisconsin.
That's amazing. Wow. So how many applicants have you had?
So, and we haven't
You
even...
said you awarded 30 and only
Right.
15. So do you get a lot of applicants, and how do they find that?
Well, what we did was when we launched it in September, we had 30 applications in a week and a half. And it was so overwhelming. I said, and I would issue a grant to each one and didn't even
Think about it.
interview them or think about it really. I'm just like, we just want to do something. So we're doing this and we're doing this. And some of it is, right off the bat, the big red flag was half of the people didn't come
Right.
to claim it. So we're like, okay, we gotta figure that out, because if somebody's on a quest for personal development or wellness, they need, whether they discover this on their own or hear this from someone else and they believe it, that it starts, in the center of your own heart. And if you don't put that effort forward, then, well, you're not ready.
Right.
So we're like, we want to weed those people out. We want to make sure we're not wasting money giving out coins, or what we call them now, we call our grants Tin Man coins.
Okay.
We don't want to be flipping people coins who are thinking it's some sort of magic pill. And so we changed how that is all issued. Your question was how many people? Okay. Mm-hmm. So 30 people applied, 30 people were awarded grants, and we turned it off. We said no more applications right now. We're going to figure this out. Mm-hmm. And then our good friend and board member, BJ Ganem, who runs a nonprofit called Sierra Delta, they provide service dogs or life buddy dogs to veterans.
Oh, cool.
And so he has a lot of experience in this world and with issuing grants, and he's like, do them quarterly at least. And like, good idea. So we turned it off. We're like, we're gonna do another round, first quarter 2025, which we're just about at the end of.
Oh, cool.
We've had 18 applicants, 3 no-shows, which is a lot better
than half. Right.
So the first thing is, when somebody applies, they're invited in for a 30-minute onboard meeting where we can meet and assess needs.
Yeah.
See, not that we're doing any sort of like mental health assessment. We're just getting to know these people better, and we're going through lists of different sort of conventional and holistic mental health treatments, practices, therapies, coaching, habits, lifestyle changes that they may or may not be aware of,
right.
And what they've liked, what they don't know about, what they haven't tried. And then we look, based on that interview process, then we look at our provider pool and we just connect dots. Like, okay, it seems like this would be a good thing to put in the grant. And so when we issue a grant, we issue them in the form of a Tin Man coin. It's not a real coin, but it's a voucher, and there's a coin on it, and it says this is good for 3 Reiki sessions, 1 consult with a counselor or therapist, or yoga, meditation, breath coaching, sound healing. There's later today a meeting with a wellness partner who wants to sign up, and she operates a salt and sound spa. So it's salt, sauna, sound, and there's certain services or treatments or therapies, whatever you want to call it, on the list that are different than others, because there's classes you can take to learn about. You can go see a coach and learn new tools for you to put in your toolbox for you to use. But then there's, like, take for example, healing massage. It's a great feeling to have, and it's definitely a stress reliever. But if you don't incorporate in your plan some way to acquire some tools for you to use, just to go to a massage to get stress relief isn't necessarily helping somebody. It's a great thing.
Yes, it's not long term, or there's not enough tools in that toolbox.
Right. So it might be something that could be sprinkled in as a bonus or something for. And then we thought, well, let's make it so this is a progression. So first thing somebody needs to do, which is so hard, and I'm proud of anybody who fills out the application and hits the send button, because that is huge in itself.
Yes.
But then to come in to that onboard meeting, that says, I'm serious about this. I'm ready. I'm going to do some work.
And that might be, now those 3 that come in, that might even be a lot. That in-person meeting. So,
right.
Especially when you're in a bad place.
Yeah, and I found so much joy coming out for myself of these meetings, because quite often they come in and they are, they're sad. They open up, and then I have a feeling that they're maybe learning something, And then at the end of it, they are smiles, and we give hugs, and they are looking forward to, because they know they're getting a coin
Right.
and
You gave them hope.
a grant. Yeah, it's a little hope.
Yep.
And to
That's
see
awesome.
that ray of light, it's just, to me, it just gives me so much energy to do more.
I think that's what it's about. So yeah, it's hitting you right in that spirit that needs to do this. You're doing the right thing for your life and everybody else is around you, because this is amazing. So I'm excited I can't believe you just put that scholarship thing in place, though. That is interesting. And deciding to do that. I would have never put those in place. So all of the people that you have on your group that you give scholarships for, none of them are employed through the foundation. They're
Right.
just a partner of the foundation.
Right. They're all independent businesses.
That's
And
awesome.
some are for profit, some are just independent, not even a company, it's just an individual coach.
Mhm.
Some are nonprofit, some are I'll give you an example of some of the providers. So the two most recent ones that signed up was the McWilliams Heritage Farm School in Laval, and it's a daycare for kids.
Really?
But there's a lot of moms that struggle with finding time to dedicate to themselves. They're constantly pouring themselves into their jobs and their kids and their families and their husbands and their job. Or I think I said that, but everything else but them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking for the opportunity to put that in a grant and say, what are your barriers to accessing some of this care? Well, time or kids, childcare. Okay. Well, here is 4 days of daycare for your kids that you can use that while you go and attend your sessions. And so that's one provider. And another most recent one is, the salt and sauna
Mm-hmm.
that I'll be talking with later today. And then we have 4 clinical therapists, like what I guess most people would consider like conventional mental health care, like going into a shrink's office and laying on a couch and they
Nice
say,
quiet room.
how does that make you feel?
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but a lot of people who apply are either seeing or have seen a therapist like that. And it's just about meeting the right one. Sometimes it's like it's hard to find an appointment to begin with, let alone, we don't have the luxury right now of being choosy with the therapist we go see, because it's 2 or 3 months to get in. And then you do find a good one. And of course they have a waiting list.
Right.
So we wanted to throw in all these other alternatives for allow people to dig within. And so things like just mindfulness and breath work and meditation is so huge
Right.
for a lot of people. Another thing that is really popular that I guess it's more of a personal thing, because I love my Reiki therapist.
Okay.
And
I've never tried that, but I would love to.
well,
I've never. Yeah. We were just looking up about what it is, actually.
it's and I think it's more about her, not as much maybe the Reiki. I think it's probably both, but we give almost everybody who applies an opportunity to go get a Reiki session with Krista.
Okay.
And so personally, I haven't had any like major outbursts or breakthroughs or epiphanies during a Reiki session, but I've had some really deep, like some of the deepest of like states of meditation that I've ever had during a Reiki session.
Wow.
And
That's
there's
awesome.
a lot of people that will go get their Reiki session, and you wouldn't believe the kicks and the screams, the cries of terror that come out sometimes, just the releases, the crying, the laughter, and it doesn't matter like what it is that's being released. It just matters that it's being released.
Right.
Because
Right.
our bodies are so magical, powerful. We can hold trauma, experiences, emotional damage inside of cells of our body. We can hide it away in a corner. It could be in your left knee. And you don't know how it got there. You don't even know exactly what it is. but sometimes Reiki is so powerful for people, it just bursts that stuff wide open.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And, I think that for me, I was in the institution of the church. But for me, what I seen is in 2000, with COVID shutting the world down, for me, I do an online every single morning message. We have over 200,000 people a month on the porch. But it's just trying to lift them up and inspiring them, letting them know that they're okay, that they matter. And hearing a voice that's familiar. And it's weird because I'm on every day, and I do a traveling ministry. We get in our RV and we go meet the people around the country. And when we do that, I never see who's behind that screen.
So, okay, let's back up. You said you're doing a podcast every day.
Every single morning we do just a short little, have coffee twice a week with folks online and just sit and review our thoughts for the day. And then every morning at 7 o'clock, we have a 5 to 7 minute message of inspiration. And so, but we do that, TikTok, YouTube, all of the social medias.
Very cool.
And then, so, but like I said, it's interesting how many lonely people there are out there. And loneliness is, I did research on loneliness, and that's interesting in itself because it's worse for your body to be clinically lonely than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. And it really does shut down your organs if you think about it, because you're always in your own head. And but what I'm finding is the loneliness around the country. So when you guys are doing this, and I'm thinking, wow, and all of the people connecting to more of holistic kind of approach of health, this is so important because people do not realize the opportunities they have out there besides going to a conventional doctor, to therapy, like you said, sitting in a psychiatrist's room, put your head back, whatever. But there are so many other ways. Teaching, meditation, teaching them just to connect with the spirit within them. I mean, having a time to be quiet enough to do that in this very loud world. I have people, a lot of phone calls. And so this is the one thing that I've realized. So I would let them rant. They'd call and, as a pastor, you just listen, right? Well, change that a little bit, because as I'm listening, they're fueling their own fire as they rant, and they're doing these things. And so we are on this attitude of gratitude, and I think that this is where we're at. If we can't feel peace in our own lives, it's really going to be hard to share that around us. And so now when I get these phone calls of ranting, the first thing I will do is, okay, before we start, what are you thankful for today? Kind of changes their mindset a little bit. All right, now I'm going to give you 5 minutes to rant, and then you're going to tell me what you're thankful for.
Okay.
And by the end of that 5 minutes, it would have been a 2-hour phone call prior to that. But this is where having these tools in your toolbox of the foundation, being able to pay for the people that cannot afford it. It's expensive, some of those treatments that our insurance don't pay for. So that is beautiful, because you're the people in the margins, the people that are not being seen. Those are the people that you're reaching out to as well. And for my birthday last year, we decided, and we went to Vegas once. I really didn't like it, but all of a sudden in September, something told me, you're going to Vegas for your birthday. So I'm like, okay, who wants to go with me? So 8 of us went out to Vegas. And the first day we were there, we went to the pawn shop. We went, all of the touristy things. I got up the next morning, and I was doing studying, and it's like, this is not why you're here. And so I grabbed my group together and said, okay, we're going to have Uber Eats bring stuff in. We're making you matter bags. So we wrote handwritten Christmas cards to the people, and walked down Fremont Street to the people that we had walked by the last 2 days. All of a sudden, these beautiful people were popping out of the woodwork. And when we went up to them, and they knew that they were seen.
Homeless people?
Yes. And they were worthy of us coming up to and say, hey, it was my birthday. I'm just like, hey, it's my birthday, and I got a Christmas present for you. I'm so excited because you matter. And it's all about this You Matter campaign that we're doing. And it was so weird because they were giving me the hats off their head. And it was cold in Vegas in December. But anyway, and I'm like, no. I said, thank you so much for that. I said, but you keep that and just remember that you matter. And by the time we got done, none of us, it was just so emotional because that's not why we thought we were there. But that was the highlight of the whole trip. And so I know like a couple of people want to do, reach out to the homeless. But You Matter bags are not just for the homeless. Well, we're taking them to the counseling centers. We're taking them to the homeless shelters, but also to schools. There's a lot of alternative schools where there's a lot of kids that just need to know that they matter. And so like I said, I think mental health is huge, and that's why. So once a month we're doing Alive in 25. It's just a live broadcast on we do Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. But the thing is that the people are just searching for something, and they want to be heard. And so I'm able to pull up their comments, and so everybody can see, so we can have a conversation basically without all they see is me. But we're having conversations because they're seeing. And after every morning I do this on the end, and people put comments in. And what is it? Was it the Romper Room? That was almost before my time, but the Mickey Mouse Club, I remember that. Good morning, whatever. Yeah. But as I call people's names out in the morning, as they're messaging, well, good morning, Patricia, good morning, whatever. Just to hear their name, you would think that I gave them $1 million. But the art of conversation is gone. And a lot of people communicate this way. Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm online, but there's a familiar face every single morning when they're having coffee. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of what our goal is to this year our goal is to hand out 1,000 mirrors that say you matter, and we wrote a little either a prayer or a poem depending. So some people, if their faith, depending on where their faith is, it can be a self-affirmation as well. So. But yeah, our goal is to hand out 1,000 of them to people who don't think that they're seen when they really are. So
I love that.
Yeah, hopefully.
What's the name of it?
We do it through the on the Porch Ministries, but it's just You Matter. We're doing a You Matter campaign, and so we'll be doing a fundraiser for that, just to get the mirrors and have them, because the mirrors are powerful. As you're looking at yourself, I love you. I love the life I have, and the more positivity that we can push out there, the better off it is, because sometimes that's what you need. And so I know you lost your son to suicide, and so I have this tattoo and these 4 birds. I buried 4 kids to suicide in 1 year as a pastor, and sitting across the table from parents like you, first of all, I cannot imagine, and I am so sorry that your family had to go through that. But I love what you're doing with his life and his memory. You're fulfilling a purpose, and that is probably one of the most beautiful things ever. So, but it is not something, mental health is not something we can take lightly anymore.
No, I've ignored it for a long time.
And it's always been, the thing that you kept quiet about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have right now on our Alive in 25 group, a lot of them are 30 years old and under. A lot have been either in the system or have been mentally or physically abused. There's just a lot of people out there who just need to know that they're okay and that they matter and they're important. And so that's how I end my broadcast every morning. You are loved. I love you. God loves you. You're important. You're necessary, just the way you are and for who you are. And so that's how we end every morning, because I think somebody needs to hear it, and not for sure who it is. So, but we have the opportunity, like I said, there's about 200,000 people a month on the porch, and we called it the porch because I believe that the art of conversation has really dwindled, and that's a lot of the ugliness in the world. We don't know how to communicate. And you can say anything behind a phone because you can be a lot braver. So we're not kind and we're not generous. And but anyways, doing my research, I like statistics. But anyway, in the 1950s, and they early 50s, they started putting air conditioners in homes. Before that, people would sit on their front porch. You would have conversations on the front porch, but then the air conditionings and attached garages. And it absolutely took away the art of communication and communities.
You could pull your car in and hide.
Yes. And so as we're going through, that's why the ministry is called On the Porch Ministry. It's because it is about communication. It is about touching, seeing.
Community, yeah.
Yes. And we lost that. And strangely, we're finding that community online because now like the world is different. And we have to find ways to reach people that really do not feel seen. And so I'm excited that you guys are getting that many scholarship applications, and hopefully that just grows and grows. And because we could probably use another 100,000 of them.
Right. Yeah. Wellness partners, however that fits in, it's a very broad spectrum.
It is.
But it's people, if you boil it down to, it's people like that just want to go shine their light. And whether, whether or not they even feel ready for it, like just getting out there and doing your best. And
Right.
So your followers and that you have now and the followers in the future that you will have are just so lucky to have you, to see your face and you shining your light every day. That is every day. That's powerful. That's a great, routines are so important. And especially in the context of the holistic health teachings that are not our community here, a good routine, morning routine and bedtime routine are just so important. And
Right.
and those routines tend to naturally evolve with seasons of the year. But to have those routines and you being part of that in someone's life, I mean, you know that you just mentioned that there's people that you see on there every day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like I said, I have become morning coffee with people from around the world, and it's interesting, but it is, it saddens me when I think about it in that thing that is, I am who they have. I have been invited to cancer treatments because they haven't told their family that they're going through cancer treatments. Could you please come to Ohio and sit with me? And you know what I'm saying? So it's a strange dynamic. Either I think for me, like I said, it's just kind of a weird blessing, and it's like I'm not exactly sure why me, but maybe. And I always tell everybody I have the gift of gab, so that's why. Because I sit and talk to myself on the video all morning. I don't have somebody sitting across from me, but that's the beautiful part, is that you never know. I had a gentleman reach out to me just yesterday. His son is autistic, and he just cannot, please just, lift up, send us good spirits, send us good, vibes, whatever, because like I'm struggling here. And, we had some conversations, and, but that's it, having a team there. We had to stop taking messages because I couldn't answer people fast enough. So I had to end the messages thing. So once we get a team together that can answer those people, because, well, I guess I'm not even worth your time, is what it was, if I wasn't back to them soon enough. And it wasn't that. It's just that it's a small team.
You can only do so much, right?
Mm-hmm, right. So, but like I said, people need people.
Yeah.
And you're connecting people to the right people, and that's beautiful. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So
one of the first thing we do now during the onboard meeting is we look at this holistic health wheel, and I forgot how many slices to the pie there is, 10 or 12 maybe. And we go through each slice. Like one slice would be like career, and then home life, home cooking is one of them. Education, like how, not like primary education, but like your continuing education, like just your ongoing continuing of learning. And then let's see, what's some other ones? Spirituality is one. Social life is one. and community. So we're finding that it's really common for the social life and community part to be really low.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've recognized this gaping hole of, I mean, it's powerful if someone can go meet somebody, a therapist or a coach or someone that they really can connect with. But a group of 10 people is even more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what we recently just got this partner involved with a foundation called Headwater Sage, who is putting together a lot of community-oriented workshops and
cool.
retreats and just recurring events. Like one thing recently started was it's called Wild Heart Sons. It's a men's group. And so it's another point worthy of making is the 99% of our applicants are women.
Really?
And so and also most of our providers are women. I just think that like this holistic wellness healing world is very much driven by the divine feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I guess it's less common for guys to see that part of themselves.
Right. And try to connect with it.
Well, tough guys are tough.
Right.
We were brought up to not cry and not ask for help. Why ask for help when you can just figure it out yourself?
Right.
And so this men's group is important because it's just a monthly gathering of like-minded guys to meet with intention to get together to talk about something. Instead of getting together just to talk about sports and drinking beer, we're going to get together with an intention of just finding our wild heart, reconnecting with that community, because community is everything. Like you were saying, the loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't surprise me that would be worse than smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, makes me want to go buy a pack of cigarettes.
All right. So that was a misunderstanding. Oh, that's funny. But no, I think too that as they're doing this and we're going through, when my dad had Alzheimer's and dementia, and my mom was home, whatever, I even went and looked at the Alexas. It sounds silly. You can ask Alexa a question and it will be a voice coming back at you. And the loneliness wasn't quite as lonely when you have somebody to answer you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, houses get so quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And especially after you lose a loved one and they've lived there for, 60 years, whatever. But I think there's so much more we can do. And so that's why I like gatherings. So we started the Alive in 25. Once a month, we're going to meet Tuesday nights. And then once a month, we have country kitchen conversations. And it sounds really silly, but people just need to have something to gather for.
Mm-hmm.
So we're couponing and we're sharing recipes. And we're going to learn how to make homemade soap, But it's both online and in person. And so people are still part of that community. But finding ways to do that, to have people get off of their couch and come out, because we fit in that box and it's so comfortable and don't realize how much life we're not living. And so I always say, are you living or are you existing?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people just existing, trying to keep their heads above water.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of this stuff is so important. So I'm excited about you partnering with more people.
Well, we want you to sign up as a partner.
Oh.
I mean, just so when people are scrolling through the provider list, they can
Mm-hmm.
come across your. What did you say the name of your podcast was, so we can
It's just
find
On
you?
the Porch with Pastor Deb.
On the Porch with Pastor Deb.
Yep.
Okay.
And
I
so-
Google that, I'll find
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. So and like I said, it's just one of the things. And then we work through the Good Neighbor Partnership. So that's another 501c3, but kind of started and have warped into something else. But that's where the You Matter campaign comes in, and because we have a lot of people that are not religious, but really want to help people. So they're spiritual. They want to be part of that something. So we can. There's ways to maneuver, I think, through things to make sure people feel comfortable being part of it. And there's a lot of beautiful people out there. And that's the one thing that if we could just help 2 of them, like half your scholarships. That was half of them that did receive and get that gift, and hopefully give them a spark of light.
Yeah.
So, I think looking at it from the positive end all the time is not a bad thing. So,
No, not at all.
but I think that's exciting. That is very exciting.
What led you to starting this podcast? A short summary of like your professional career in this world.
Well, as I started doing probably 8 years ago, just typing in a devotion, I thought, trying to figure out. I've never been a cookie cutter pastor, and that's probably why I'm not in the institution anymore. But that's okay. Right now, we worship in my barn, and so we literally have an old barn that we worship in. So, but coming into the whole thing is that people. I just started typing it in. Then I stopped doing it for a while, and then COVID happened, and we couldn't meet in person. And my husband said, "Get on there, just start doing videos." And I think we just did the 3,200 and some videos is what we have on.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so we go on a lot. We try to inspire people. We try to do, but interesting enough. So then, as we're going to the porch, it just felt more where God was calling me to go and what I was doing, because it wasn't behind any kind of theology except where God was leading me, and that's not always written in books, and so
It's written in your intuition.
yeah, well, and it's connecting differently than I can as a traditional pastor. And so it is experiencing some of the very natural therapies that are out there and feeling okay with that without feeling judged or feeling like I'm going against my religion. That's, it sounds silly, but it's really kind of that free path of understanding that people are coming from a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. And so my job is to help people experience God's life and love for themselves in their own way. And I'm not going to tell them how to do it. I just want to encourage them to experience that. And like I said, finding that peace that I can feel sometimes, that just the Spirit, when you connect your spirit with God's Spirit, I want them to feel that, And so in order to do that, we have to be consistently online. And so my grandkids think it's great. Everybody. I grew up Catholic. I always said I was Cathodist, but no. But very different understanding now than I had 10 years ago about who I am as a person. And so that's the beautiful part of it. I can meet with somebody and say, this is awesome. How can we work together to make the world that we live in a better place? Kind of goes to that 5 minutes of ranting, because I'm sure we could have a whole other podcast about how horrible the world is, and all of the darkness and all of the ugliness and the muck that we live in, the chaos.
We do. It's called Channel 6.
But they do. I mean, you could really get down and deep into that. But when we wake up with that, and that's where, like I said, so the porch has become a place of, it's home for me. And we are building a family that is just, it's beautiful. But, we went on a 3,200-mile trip last year on a tour and met people from the porch, which was interesting. I will not do it the same way again. Every time we're tweaking it to figure out how to meet up with people. But now we're also doing, like, our worship services a little bit different. So we'll be having groups that I'll be meeting with this time, hopefully going out to Pennsylvania in the summer. But it's interesting because every place you go, the culture is different, but people are not. They still have the same feelings. They still have the same sadnesses and the whatever. And when and we have an old RV, so everybody I know for a while, everybody said, oh, you're spending all this money. No, we're just being able to put ourselves in a place that we could actually afford to do this. We have a special needs son that lives with us, and but it's beautiful. But when you go and knock on their doors, that's what I won't do again. Because I don't know who's behind the door. I've never seen their face, so as I'm meeting them, that's different.
Well, I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so I might not be knocking on any more doors either, unless I'm asking for donations. But.
Well, then that's okay. It's a whole different. It's a whole different way of welcoming somebody. But no, so we're doing this and going to meet these people, and that's, I think, for me, that's home. I have found a home on the porch, and it sounds silly, but when you get people in, and I could be online all night with people and just listening to them and encouraging them and whatever, but that is not my job. My job is to give them a light of hope and find resources for them in their area, so they can have that. And a lot of times in New York, it's amazing the people that can contact you asking for resources, and I have no idea where they're at, whatever. They give me their location. I do a screen. I can call people in their area because I can find the resources and get them what they need sometimes. But sometimes it's just that they need somebody to say, I hear you. And so that's what we're doing, is we're listening, and we got folks like Miss Brenda that comes and picks up the pieces behind us, because sometimes it's a bulldozer and that's all I have is to move forward. And we have a beautiful, beautiful group of people that are just back there making me look really good. Let's just put it that.
Well, it's impressive. You go live on 3 different platforms at the same time. I don't even know how you would do that. You figured it out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, but a friend did. Yes. So StreamYard.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's beautiful. And like I said, I can go 5 platforms at once, and I can have 10 people on.
10 people.
I can pull 10 people into my podcast.
And they will be also streaming out to all the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if let's say I'm scrolling Instagram and I come across yours, I can't interact with you.
You can, yeah.
Oh, I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to be one of those 10.
No, you can message. Anybody can message on any of the platforms, and I see it on my screen.
So what is the 10? How is that different from, say, you have a million viewers?
No, 10 people come on to interview or on screen. So we can have up to 10 people on screen as a chatting or as a conference
as
kind
one
of
of
call.
the
As a speaker.
As one of the speakers. I see.
As a
Okay.
guest, yes.
Okay.
And everybody else is just not there. A lot of people do not like to be on screen. And so we try to really avoid that unless they ask for it. But we can do that too. So
I could dial in and just I'll look at the camera like this.
yes. Yes, we look sideways.
Okay.
No, it's an interesting platform, but it works so well because I can do, like I said, I do three Instagram, 3 Facebook pages, 3 Instagram pages, YouTube, and TikTok. But TikTok is a little bit tricky, so I always have to go back and put that in later. So.
Okay,
StreamYard.
StreamYard. All right.
Remember that.
Well, maybe they'll sponsor your podcast.
Oh, there you go.
Or this one.
There
We
you
just
go,
need
yeah.
a few more followers.
Just a couple more. Just a couple more.
But you keep. I mean, the thing that How many years have you been doing the live?
The live since 2020.
So
I
mean that
going on 5 years.
You must be growing every year.
Oh yeah, we just started out with, and it all depends because we have so many different pages. So you got to do the statistics from all the different things. But,
Sure.
But like I said, it's interesting on how many people say, "Well, I can't be on the live," or they're letting me know when they can and can't. And when we have coffee at 7:15 one morning and 6:15 the other morning because some of them are school teachers
Okay,
and can't
sure.
be there. And but you just get to know your people. And but we have a lot of them that are retiring school teachers and whatever that just want to help be part of the You Matter campaign. And because it's important, I don't even know what it looks like yet. All I know is that we have to do it. So,
Yeah.
so it'll come together.
Well, I love what you're doing. You're following your intuition and your heart, and that's if we could all be that lucky.
Yeah. I don't know if my husband would say that every day. But no, it is good, and it's an interesting concept of that. But so another interesting thing, I started TikTok a year and a half ago. Average age on TikTok is 25 of my followers. Wow. Average age on Facebook is 55 and female, and most of the TikTok followers are male.
Really?
Yeah. So
that is really interesting.
The demographics is very, very different. Instagram are my 30-year-olds. And so but like I said, it's interesting. Who are you going to reach? And I think that was always one of the questions in all of the business things. You know, who's your target audience? Who's your target audience? And I really didn't know who my target audience was. But when we're getting into the TikTok shop and working with all of these 20-year-olds, or not the TikTok shop, but on TikTok, it's interesting. Their comments and their desire to interact is so much different than on Facebook. I am Pastor Deb in a very traditional way. On TikTok, I'm just Deb on the porch, because a lot of people connect spiritually, but they don't connect with a religion. So they're not. I always say it's not about religion; it's about a relationship. That's where I'm coming from, and if you can find that, then I did my job. But it's going to look different for you than it is for me. And but being that open for people, I think, is where it's going to take us to that next level. But we're on the edge of something. I have some things I have to wrap up here before I can know that it'll spring where I need to be. So our goal is to have 3 tours a year. So right now we're doing about 1. So our goal is 3 by the end of 26.
All right.
So it will get there.
Well, I look forward to following your journey on that.
Well, thank you. I look forward to looking into more of what you're doing, and I'm excited. So you have a fundraiser every year?
Well, we started with 3 fundraisers in a row, 2022, 2023, 2024.
Okay.
Now that things are different and we have an administration expense that we didn't have before, I need to raise a lot more money.
Yeah.
And so we're doing, some of the things we're doing is we want to be in every county so we can legitimately say that we are a state, that our organization has a statewide presence.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, well, other than the obvious reason, we just want to be statewide. We want to have that before we approach companies like Quick Trip and Culver's to ask them to have their customers have an option to round up for mental health in September.
Oh, there you go.
And I feel like until we can say we have a statewide presence, we don't have a really good sales pitch to Culver's and Quick Trip yet. So one of the goals is to touch every county. And how we're going to do that is, I just yesterday made a list of 72 different community pages in different counties in Wisconsin. And so we're going to do some posting on there of our campaign called Adopt a County. And it is where a corporation or an individual or a group of people can adopt a county for $13,600. What that does is it solidifies the presence of this foundation to have services available in that county. And it covers all operating costs for 2 years. So if, let's say, Saputo Cheese in Reedsburg wanted to adopt Sauk County, they would fund $13,600, and they would get the naming rights as the wellness partner to Sauk County for the 2-year period. And then, well, we're already in Sauk County, but we're still going to look for someone to adopt it. But if we get all counties adopted, then we're going to be able to have the resources to issue Tin Man coins in those counties, and or have a wellness partner that's based out of that county.
Oh.
And so that's our Adopt a County fundraiser. And then another one that we're launching is we're going to launch this in September at the Tin Man, because it'll be a big crowd. We're going to get 100 seeds. So you find 100 people that are willing to start the snowball. And anything online and viral is all about momentum and trend. And it happens so fast. It's a flash. So once this snowball is started and is pushed down the hill, there's nothing else you can do. You can't breathe more life into it. It turns into what it's going to turn into.
Right.
But you start with at least 100 seeds. And the concept is you donate $10, And then you tag 3 friends
Okay.
to donate $10 and tag 3 friends. But everyone, the 100 people that we agree to sign up to start the snowball, it's like 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh.
And then
So they're all inviting their friends all at the same time.
yeah. So it
Okay.
happens like the day after Tin Man, and then that snowball is started, and who knows where that
Right.
leads.
Well, that's cool.
That's
I like that.
and that's one that, because it's only $10, almost everyone can participate in.
Right.
And then there's another campaign we're doing that anyone and everyone could participate in, because it's we haven't come up with what the challenge is going to be yet, but it's going to be a 100-unit challenge, whether it's 100 days of running a mile, or 100 days of meditation, or 100 days of cold plunges, or 100 minutes of this, or whatever. I don't know yet. It's going to be some sort of challenge that kids can do.
Oh, cool.
And then they get their parents or grandparents to sponsor them. So, hey, Grandma and Grandpa, I'm going to do this challenge. I'm going to do a mile a day for 100 days. Will you give me $1 a mile?
Mm-hmm.
And then that is going to allow all these kids and families, people that might not have normally been able to contribute, because we just haven't had any sort of organized fundraising scheme at all, even with the sponsorships for the events. And so we're getting all that organized, and
That takes a lot. Been there, done that.
yeah. Then we want to do a mental health marathon, a 24-hour live event
Oh,
where
cool.
corporations can sponsor the hour. You know, you've seen these on PBS and stuff. And then we'll get some professional athletes and local, like, influencers involved. I want to get the comedian Charlie Barons, who's
Oh, sure.
really popular in Wisconsin, involved, and maybe Jordan Love or some Packers or something to gain the momentum and the outreach for that campain, for
Oh,
that
very cool.
marathon. So just a few different, and then the Tin Man, the triathlon, will still happen in September. My hope, and I think this is what's going to happen, is we'll have enough successful fundraisers where the Tin Man won't be so much pressure, where it can just be more of a fun celebration of what's happened this
Right.
year.
Right. Yeah, because that, I'm sure, was intense. Because
Yeah, it was, and it's fun, but it's when that's the only one we were doing that year, it was, let's get this as perfect as possible, and
right.
so
Well, I think that it seems like it's been successful, so it's cool.
it's fun. So mark
That
your
is
calendar
cool,
for
yeah.
September
With the
6th.
challenges for the kids, make sure you're sending them to every school district there is, and do district challenges.
Ooh, they can compete.
Yes.
Good
oh,
idea.
schools like to
Well,
compete.
yeah, especially Baraboo versus Reedsburg. I
Right,
mean,
but seriously, get that in there, because it's just like, okay, this is what we're doing, because mental health is so, I mean, everybody needs help, and anything that they can encourage, better mental health, that's awesome. And what better way than to have one school raise more money than the other school, and then you get a pizza party. I don't know.
yeah.
But I think it's that has always been really something that putting the schools to challenges is.
That's a great idea,
Yeah,
Deb.
so just
And we'll
have
get
them-
Pizza Ranch to sponsor the pizza
absolutely.
party. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. So there you go.
Good idea.
So yeah, so much. But this is awesome. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming in.
All right. Well, thank you, and yay.
All right.
All right.